the chef's brutal mouth and comments, and I thought, surely it's been on for 3 seasons now. You watched the show before you signed up, right?
Probably not.
Well, I knew that it was about losing weight, and ultimately for me, that's what I wanted to do. And I really am, to this day, I'm really excited about the fact that I got to do it. Had no idea how tough I had absolutely no idea. I was absolutely scared to death at the thought of a gym, at the thought of trainers, at the thought of bearing my soul and myself in front of Americans. But I knew that this was my opportunity to change, so that's what I did.
Now, tell people how big you guys were when you got on the show, and how did you get so big? Because I've seen before and after pictures of you, and I don't think the two of you were, so big at some point.
Well, I mean, I guess I'd like to say compared to Biggest Loser standards now, maybe 340 pounds is not that big, but for me at 5'9" tall, I was carrying a lot of weight. So my biggest was about 345. I actually lost a little bit to get to weigh in at the show, which I guess that's not good strategy either. But I weighed in at 331 and finished up at 180. And Amy was 229. She's about 5'4". Kind of smaller framed woman, and she weighed in 7 months later at 124. So almost half of our body. So compared to the 500-pounders that they have on there now, it's not as astounding, but it is definitely life-changing.
But really what happened to us, we weren't overweight our whole lives or whatever. We were just, a little overweight, but I know for myself, I became obese after the diagnosis of my son with autism, because I actually turned to food to comfort myself during that time. I had no idea I just knew that I felt responsible to fix him or to help him in some way, and I was completely powerless really as to how to do that. And then, so at night, when he would go to sleep, and see, autistic children, they're all different, but with him, he was very destructive. He screamed a lot. He had limitless energy, never took a nap. So I was all day putting out fires with him. And at night, when he would finally just pass out from exhaustion and fall asleep, I would sit on the sofa in a daze and just go, God, how did this happen to me? And I would just eat ice cream and watch TV just to kind of escape, I guess, mentally, what was going on in my life. And I know that because of that, and then Philip kind of enabled me in that, because he would call home at night and go, how was your day? And of course, every day was a challenge. And so, because
it was can I ask a question?
What?
I would call her and I'd ask, is it a Reese Cup night or is it a Rocky Road night? I would try to gauge her on the phone to know what I needed to stop by and pick up at the store. So. And
every night it was something.
It was a bribe, because I obviously wanted to come home from work and have a sweet wife, not a mean,
So anyway, during that process, I just ballooned to obesity, and he had already, struggled with the same thing. And so after we got some therapy.
I had been fat for 20 years, thank you.
Yeah. After we got some therapy and we got into our careers as real estate agents and all these things started kind of unraveling, we realized that kind of like our weight was really the last frontier that we needed to conquer.
We actually decided, whether it was on The Biggest Loser or not, that this was something we were going to start working on at that time. So, it was time for us. And, I guess they say in a way, it's like winning the lottery. We talked to a casting director a couple of days ago. So we just flew back from Los Angeles. We just went to the finale ourselves Tuesday night, and I talked to one of the casting directors, and she said she was excited about us putting our book out to talk to people, because she had 15,000 people herself personally for the last show that she personally talked to, and she said, it's like winning the lottery. We're only going to pick a few of them. Less than 20 people will make it to the show. So people look at it like it's their only hope, and we always want to tell them, no, it's not your only hope. I mean, it was what started our journey, and it's what helped us get started, but after that, we had to do it on our own, and we would have had to do it on our own anyway. They just gave us some of the tools and the resources, which is kind of what we're all about. You know, we really feel empathy for people who are in that situation like we were.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of that, tell me why participating in televised weekly humiliation rituals was a good fit for you guys. I mean, it's not for everybody.
No, I think we kind of, we'd gone through so many things in our lives. My husband had lost his business, and then we had Rhett, and so you're subjected to public humiliation every day when you go to the grocery store with an autistic child because, you're going to stand out. So I guess we kind of lost all of our pride by that point. So standing in a sports bra in front of millions of people with our fat hanging out was just one more thing that, might as well. It was going to help us,
I just kind of shut my mind off to the fact that I'm standing here with, with my fat, sweaty body, on this fake scale, looking at everybody, and bearing my soul. But I think that, honestly, you want to talk about it, Bob, a second? I tell you what, that makes such a difference because you decide in your mind, I never want to do this again. You talked about humiliation, but they really do humiliate you almost in a way to where, and
you realize how bad it is.
You realize how bad it is. Otherwise, you've just not dealt with it, and you've been a comfort eater. You've hidden behind this layer of fat, and now you've got to deal with it. So I think it's on purpose. Yeah,
they do that.
Yeah, it offends you at first, but then you realize the genius of it. Almost that's almost the genius behind the show.
So, what was the best part of being on The Biggest Loser?
For me, it was the fact that we got to conquer so many things that we thought were never possible. Like we got to climb mountains, we got to kayak in the Colorado River, we got to do challenges at Universal Studios in this big, huge water tank. And I mean, it was just like they would push you beyond where you thought you could go, and you would go there, and then you would just realize that anything's possible if you just put your mind to it, and if you go for it. Anything's possible. And so that was the best part for me, knowing that, I really learned that I was strong.
Mm-hmm.
I found my strength there, and that was the best part for me. And we all have it inside of us. It's just somebody's got to show you that you have it. And that's really kind of what we hope to do, through our book and everything, is to show people that strength is within you. You just got to tap into it, and you've got to believe in it, and it'll just take you places.
Yeah, if you think it's hard to run a race when you're skinny, do it when you're fat. You're carrying that much more weight around. They say every extra pound you have on your body is worth 3 to 6 extra pounds of pressure on your knees and your ankles and your joints. So we did it. And I think what Amy said, that would be for me the best part of the show, is just realizing how strong I am as a person. And if I can do this, if I can conquer this, because the show is tough because you're there and they're pushing you so hard while you're there, and they're kind of bringing out the best in you and the worst in you. But when you go home, a lot of people, if you watch the show, you'll realize a lot of people, the wheels fall off when they get home.